Trump's newest medical advisor, Scott Atlas, has been promoting herd immunity to combat coronavirus because that would allow the Trump administration to do nothing in response to the pandemic and just allow hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans to die from the virus. So herd immunity strategy would entail allowing the coronavirus to spread through most of the population to quickly build resistance to the virus while taking steps to protect those in nursing homes and other vulnerable populations. But let's all be clear, even without implementing herd immunity, the Trump administration has absolutely dropped the ball in protecting vulnerable populations. We all know about the number of elderly people who have died from coronavirus in these homes. The lack of leadership or preparation or action on a state or local government level has been absolutely abysmal. And so to say that, no, we'll implement herd immunity and we'll just be very protective of vulnerable people in this country is ridiculous, and we all know that they would not actually carry that out. Experts also say that it's impossible. It is impossible to isolate vulnerable communities from younger people, especially when our current economic situation has led to an influx of multi-generational, multi-family homes in this country. Elderly people, vulnerable people, they don't live on an island, they're not isolated, and it's impossible to isolate them. Now, herd immunity would result in a lot of deaths, and let's be absolutely clear about that. For instance, as Johns Hopkins University notes, to reach herd immunity for COVID-19, likely 70% or more of the population would need to be immune. Without a vaccine, over 200 million Americans would have to get infected before we reach this threshold. Put another way, even if the current pace of the COVID-19 pandemic continues in the United States, we won't reach herd immunity in 2021. If current death rates continue, over 500,000 Americans would be dead from COVID-19 by that time. And just a few more numbers, Malaika, and I want to hear your thoughts. With a population of 328 million in the United States, it may require 2.13 million deaths to reach a 65% threshold of herd immunity, assuming the virus has a 1% fatality rate, and that's according to analysis done by the Washington Post.
The fact that we can have a party that advocates for pro-life, yet it's gambling with people's lives so much at the federal and state level right now. I'm in Georgia. I have to be very careful out here because Governor Brian Kemp has promoted this kind of anti-science that has permeated throughout the Republican Party, the GOP, for whatever reason this entire summer. And they're gambling with people's lives. Like, these are not epidemiologists. We've seen where they failed thus far. So the fact that he can just come up with this new science and think that everyone's supposed to believe it, he's gambling with his own base. And it's very troubling that we have this coming from the highest office right now.
Yeah, they just don't care. They don't care. I mean, I think anyone who's paying even a little attention can tell that the right wing in this country has always been disingenuous when they talk about how they're pro-life. For me, my read on all of that has always been, no, they're pro punishing women, they're pro attempting to win brownie points with their evangelical base. But when push comes to shove, and we're seeing this right now, these politicians are not pro-life. They could not care less about the lives of even their own constituents, because this is a virus that has impacted people across the political spectrum. And it still blows my mind that the race between Biden and Trump is tightening, even considering how awful Trump's response to this pandemic has been, and everything's been politicized. So Scott Atlas is a relatively new member of Trump's team, and he has no expertise to be weighing in on this issue. He's been an anti-mask person, and he's just not qualified for this role. But in addition to that, in addition to every other part of this virus that's been politicized by Trump, there's no question that they're trying to rush a vaccine, even if it has not it hasn't underwent the necessary tests to ensure that the vaccine is safe. So the Food and Drug Administration Commissioner, Stephen Hahn, said in a new interview that he is willing to fast track a coronavirus vaccine before clinical trials are complete if it is determined to be appropriate. Hahn stressed politics would play no part in such a move. That's also similar wording we heard from the CDC when they randomly out of nowhere changed their guidelines to say that you don't have to take a coronavirus test if you've been in close contact with someone who did test positive for coronavirus. And they spread this nonsense point about how if you're asymptomatic, you're less of a risk. Now, we know that that's not true. We know that the Trump administration was pressuring the CDC to change its guidelines, and then they later tried to switch back to what they previously were promoting, but not really. The wording was super confusing, and people are like, wait, so do I get tested? Do I not get tested? Just this lack of leadership and a president who's only thinking about himself and how he can politicize this situation for his own political gain.
Yeah, it's really sad right now that what we're seeing in the past several months is a breakdown in all of America's institutions and really a highlight as to what is fundamentally wrong with our history and our culture, because all of these things are colliding and becoming clarified by the coronavirus. You have American individualism that says, well, I'm going to wear my mask when I want to, or whether or not I want to or not care about other communities. You have a president and a right wing, and to some extent, some Democratic governors as well, who are trying to rush people to go out to work, and they're risking the lives of essential workers. They're risking the lives of children just so they can say that they have an economy. We know how much Jeff Bezos benefited. I think he's got $200 billion net worth right now because Amazon is racking in so much money. So you have all of these ills of histories of capitalism and individualism that are colliding right now with the coronavirus. So I think it's going to be important. I'm also an activist. I think it's important for people to see what they can do on the local and state level as well, because whether the GOP is in office or not, whether they have power or not, they're still going to be doing a lot of these same, promoting these same kinds of policies on a state and local level. So I really encourage people to kind of find their tribe, find their political organizing group, work with them and pass some laws and still stay out in the streets, because this is a part of American culture that goes beyond the Trump presidency as well.
Want to win a free electric scooter? Well, our partners at Aspiration and Zoom Electric are making it possible. All you have to do is head to tyt.com/greensummer for your chance to win.